Got the old Mercedes in the garage again. And in this video, we are going to dive into the injectors. Finally gonna check on the injectors in this car. It's been almost a year. So let's see how she blows. So this is what we have currently. Got all 5 injectors in there and I've never touched them. They don't leak, at least a lot. That one might leak a little bit actually. The front one. Yeah, that one probably leaks a little bit. So, what are you doing, Sherman? Are you on attention? We're gonna pull these injectors, see how it goes. Never done this before, but I just, I got the pop tester here from Mercedes Source. I got that all rigged up, and I did all the trial runs here on the salvaged injectors from the salvage yard from the 1983 300 CD. That's also a turbo diesel OM617. Same injectors. They're supposed to, their factory setting is to pop at 1925 psi. All of these, I just didn't open them up or anything. I just tested them where they popped at, and they were pretty much all 1800. One was 1825. I'll call that all pretty consistent. That's cool. That's actually within spec. First step is to get the hard injector lines off, and then you got to pull the return lines off. Okay, got the hard lines off. There's the injection pump. Hard lines are off. Now I'm going to pull the return lines. See if these come out without problem. See, they're on there. They're going to be broken off. I'm going to have to use some pliers. Got the first injector out. Got a compression tester. It's a Pittsburgh Harbor Freight brand. The one YouTube guy, I think it's MJM or MCM, he's got a lot of cool videos on Mercedes 300D do-it-yourself stuff. He recommended to use this Pittsburgh compression tester. Bought it used off of eBay because they don't make that one anymore, I don't think. And all of the fittings worked so far into the injector to do a compression test. This engine's cold. Also, he had a good idea to use vice grips to push the shutdown on the injection pump to prevent some of the fuel from pumping. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. And let's turn this thing over. Not much fuel came out, so that's good. Let's see what the compression is. First cylinder, 280 psi. That's cool. Number 2 compression test, it was about 290, now it went down. So I'm gonna say 290 on that one. It went down, released some pressure, so there must be a little leak. Third cylinder is 260 psi. Fourth one is 270. Last cylinder, it went down a little bit, but it was 280. The engine was tested cold when I did a compression test on each cylinder. Here is the Mercedes recommended in bar compression pressures. The compression pressures that I got in each cylinder range from 260 psi to 290 psi, which in bar is 18 bar to 20 bar, and it's showing that the minimum compression pressure allowed is 15 bar. So it says optimum is between 24 and 30. We're not there, but it's an old car, so it's gonna work. I forgot to mention that I am replacing the heat shield sealing washers that go down in there before the injector goes in. So I'm replacing those before doing the compression test. Okay, here are all of the injectors pulled out of the car. These are out of the wagon. So we have, these are in order, so it's 1 to 5 here. There you go, that's what they look like. Some of them had oil down there, some of them were a little bit rusted. These two, the last ones, the heat ring was, or the crush washer was hard to remove. The kit that I got from Mercedes Source does give you this little pick removal tool, which worked really well, but I needed to put it in there and take a screwdriver and pry it against it and then take linemans and pull it so that it would actually work. But it did work. That's a strong little piece of steel over there because it didn't bend it. First I'm going to put them into the pop tester here and see if how they spray now and where they're at, because that's where you need to start. So, and then I'll write all that down. I am doing the pop testing without any manipulations as of now. These are just how I pulled them out of the car. So this is the 4th injector, and this is the one that's kind of got a stream with the injection sprays. So I think that's might be the one of the ones that's washing down the cylinders and causing it to smoke. I don't know that for a fact. It's just, it smokes a little bit, and this one's popping at 1800. I have it in the pop tester, and I'm going to show you the spray pattern on this particular one. You can't see the PSI pressure, but I want you to see the spray pattern. Oh, see, on the low pressure it just pees out like that. There we go. That looks to be pretty good. Here's the slow motion. We are at it again. Got an update on the injectors. Sherman is over here. Sherman, what's the problem? Huh? How about you, Tank? What's the problem, Tank? I've been driving it, okay? But I didn't finish the video because I got some issues. Put the injectors in the car. Torque them down. We got one that is leaking out of the injector body half. Kind of see that there. So that one's definitely leaking. This one's a little sweaty. That one's a little sweaty in the half, and then this one right here, number 4, is I'd say it's sweating heavy. How about that? So, but this guy's gotta get pulled out of here. It's leaking bad enough that I want to pull it back out. And here's the interesting thing about all of this, is that this injector is the only injector that does not have the Bosch Germany OEM injector. I don't know if it was a remanufactured or what, but we're gonna pull this injector. What I'm thinking about doing is using one of the injectors, they're all Bosch injectors here that were pulled out of the junkyard in the 1983 300 CD, which was the coupe. So I am going to pull that injector out, and I'm going to rebuild that guy there. But the new injector nozzle, the tip of it is in this injector. So I got to take these lines off, take this injector out, take these hoses off, and go from there. Now here's another tip. Put the hoses on, return hoses on, before you put the hard lines on, because you have more room to do it. I actually had to use needle nose a little bit, which I know you're not supposed to in case it tears it, but I couldn't get them on there. It was tough. I bought the kit and the nozzles and everything from Mercedes Source, which is a website online. Check it out if you own one of these engines. In the instructions, it says if you have a leaky injector and it's just leaking a little bit, that you can take carb cleaner, clean out, and it's leaking out of the body, the side of the body where the injector goes together, to take carb cleaner off the injector and then blow it out with air, and then take a little red Loctite and just wick it, and just couple drops in there, and it'll wick in between the body and it should seal it up. It's kind of a good idea instead of taking all this apart. I'm going to try and solve the leaky injector problem with all 4 of them except for injector number 1. I'm going to rebuild another injector with that one. So let's see. So I went out and bought a new socket that was deep enough. This is an 1 1/16 socket to get on top of the injector. They're a lot tighter when they're not just freshly installed, just so you know. You really gotta give her heck. The one in the junkyard, 14 or 16 inch long breaker bar, and it took, I thought I was gonna break them. I mean, it was to that level. I thought I was gonna break either the socket or something. But anyway, so just keep that in mind. So here, we're pulling this one out. we got to be careful on this guy because this is the new, that has the new tip in it. And then we got to get that crush washer out. Get that thing out of there. And they go in dome side down. Here's the existing injector that has some markings on it that are not Bosch. So it may be a remanufactured one, I don't know. This guy here has a Bosch one. This came out of the 300 CD out of the junkyard. Never been cracked open. This one I have already rebuilt, but it leaks at the body. Pull this off. Okay, I already tested this Bosch injector in the pop tester and it popped at 1800 psi. I marked that down. I did also mark that it leaks. So it probably leaks out of the returns when I was testing it, but they all pretty much leak. Alright, crack it loose. The first step that I do is I take both of the body pieces and I'll bring them outside, and I have a little tub and I'm using carb cleaner, and I bought a brass brush. So I'm going to do a better job cleaning the inside of the barrel. When you look at this is going to be hard to see, but there's junk on the inside of that surface there. I'm going to do a better job cleaning this one. So I'm not going to show you how to do that because it's a pain. Here's the brass bore style wire brush I was talking about. It has to be brass. So this is where it gets a little tricky. I have a little diesel here and different grades of sandpaper. Alright, got a little diesel on there. We got 400 grit, what is this, 800 grit, and 1500 grit. So we're going to take this piece right here, which you can look at the surface and you can see like little rings in there. So first we'll go on the 400 grit and hold it at the base and just lightly spin this on top of this mirror or glass because that's flat. And you just want to see if all those markings are gone. Move that one out of the way, get the 600 grit, and that's nice. Now I'll take, this is kind of a big jump from 600 to 1500, but it's what I got today. So that's a pretty good surface there. So we're going to put that aside. You take this guy here, which is your other piece, and you want to look at that, and you got to get those rings off of there, and on this side as well. So I'll do the same thing. So let's check it. That has gotten the 1500 treatment. Alright, that is nice. Okay, I just cleaned the mirror off, dried it off of diesel, and cleaned it with alcohol. Now, this was a step that I missed on the last, all the injectors I didn't do this, but this is 2000 grit sandpaper. I missed it in the kit. I was providing my own sandpaper because I didn't know that it even came with any. I'm going to dry the diesel off of these parts that we just sanded down to 1500. This is 2000 grit sandpaper and it is dry. Okay, let's see how that looks. So I got them both cleaned with alcohol now. One's done with 1500, one's done with 2000. There's the difference, if you can tell. But this one's shinier, that's for sure. So we're going to use the same technique, got it dried off. That is pretty dang glossy. Parts are sanded. We're going to take the injector that was in the car apart because I want that nozzle out of there because that's the new nozzle. Very interesting, there's a ton of soot on the side of this. I wonder if I ruined this. And I take my brass wire brush and I'm going to clean that off. Alright, I cleaned all the soot up off of this. But this is very crucial of how, see how that's still falling there, it's good. This is the new one, but I just wire brushed all this soot off and I don't want any to get in there. So I'm going to go out there and carb clean this. Alright, so she's carb cleaned up and that thing fell, that needle portion fell right in there. We're gonna look down the barrel again to make sure there's no dirt, and there's a little bit of dirt in there. Son of a pup. This barrel is clean now. I looked down it, it's got alcohol, I just blew through it. And I just dropped this thing right in there. Alright, so we'll put that in there. Put the thingy in there, spring. And then here's the shims. Now here's the deal. These popped at 1800 PSI, okay? Most of the injectors that I rebuilt that are in the car now popped at 1800 PSI prior to me taking them apart. And I added one, it's 0.05 millimeters shim. And that gained me roughly 100 to 150 PSI pop test. So I was gonna put a stack of 3 on there. This one's got 3 in here. Thread that thing on. And we're going to torque this to, I think, 59 foot-pounds. Now we're going to be careful not to hit that tip. We're going to tighten this. Got the injector tightened down. So now you just pump this thing up, and then it starts drawing the fuel, and it'll go into that injector. So there you go. We're already at 1500 PSI right now. We're holding. Going down a little bit, so here we go. 18, 19, 2000, that was 2100 or 2050 PSI. But I can tell you that you have to purge it through a couple of times to get it where the oils and things from rebuilding it get out of there, and it's true diesel. I have this mixed with transmission fluid as well, just a little bit. So you can see how fine that is because it's running like foam on top of that cup, and it's popping right at 1950. Before I rebuilt them, a lot of them would have a straight stream prior to the pop. It would straight stream, then pop. This now, it's going, pop. There's no stream beforehand. That's what you want. So when it's at 1800, you put a 0.05 millimeter shim in there, she pops right where you want it. It's not leaking out of the returns. That was another thing all the other ones were doing. We'll take this all apart. I'll put it and dry it off, and get it ready for putting back in the car. So I cleaned that up better in that injector hole, and the dome cup portion goes down. So we're going to drop this crush washer in there. All right, here's the rebuilt injector. Get your torque wrench, torque it at the same torque as when you assembled it. Now, before I forget, I'm going to put my return lines on. Push them on. They go on pretty easy because I got the room now. Now, I'm going to put the injector line on. Alright, let's start it up and get it outside. Alright, we're going to go for a night ride in this thing. We're going for a night ride. See how this thing runs. Okay, a couple of burnouts and some wide open throttles later. Let's see how she fared. So the body of that injector is dry. Injector number 1. We're just going to call this job complete. You know, I'm sure there'll be another project, but for now we're going to call this complete. Definitely smokes. Just pulled it out of the garage. It's still warming up. It definitely smokes. It always did. Welcome back. It's been a while. 6,000 miles ago. For you, it's like a couple seconds. But here we got the Mercedes. So what we got is a Sherman. Hey Sherman, how is it? Okay, I'm glad that you're telling everybody how it is, right? So, 6,000 miles ago, the injectors were rebuilt. That injector does look like it is leaking ever so slightly. This was the cylinder number 1 that was leaking a lot worse. It wasn't leaking, it's barely leaking. So I thought it was going to be a win, it's not. That's okay. Number 4 is leaking decent. They're all kind of leaking. So I have some other things going on. I want to pull the injectors anyway, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the injectors and sand down the surfaces down to 2000 grit with dry sandpaper and be more diligent about cleaning the inside of the injector. There's other things I want to check with the injectors. I want to see if they're dirty or clean or whatever. So I want to pull these injectors and see what's going on. Got the injectors pulled here. Cylinders 1 through 5 in order here. Definitely having some coking problems. I'm doing some experimenting with the car and definitely running into some issues here. 6,000 miles on freshly rebuilt injectors. They're coked up pretty bad. And then even in the pre-chambers here, that one's almost plugged solid. That was cylinder number 1. There's cylinder number 2, and you can see all the snot down in there where the glow plug is, because the glow plug goes right in there. Right, Stinky? Huh? Hey, Tank, what have you been doing? Tell everybody what you've been doing. Yeah, you're a good cat. You really are. The injectors were coked up really bad like you saw. I put them in the pop tester the way they were just to see where they pop tested and everything. They all pop tested about 1900 psi except for one was 1800 psi. So that's where I knew where I was at. And they all leaked out of the returns. So they needed to be rebuilt. That was similar to when I rebuilt them last time, 6,000 miles ago. So I disassembled all of them. Cleaned all the coking off of all the injectors, cleaned them all up, put a shim in one of them, and torqued them down and rebuilt them. So now I am pop testing. I'm on cylinder number 3. So the spray patterns were all not terrible, but not good. I've learned that if I gotta put a lot of fuel through the injector to kind of prime it, if you will. This one's popping really nice. It's a really nice, like, it's not like a complete spray pattern like this. It's kind of like a narrow cone. Like narrow cone like this. It's not like a wide pattern. And you don't want a stream, like a piss stream or like a one-sided fan. So you want it to shoot like uniform and like kind of straight down. It's so hard to explain it. There's other videos that probably show it better, but it's popping at pretty much 1950 psi, which is exactly where you want it. That's what I'm doing 5 times. Injectors are out. You can tell there's a lot of coking in there. You can see all the white inside of the injector. There's a little ball looking thing down there. You can see the glow plug was sticking. They get threaded in right here, right underneath the injector. So I pulled all 5 glow plugs out. This is the electrical terminal, ring terminal that goes to them. So they all came out, which was good. We definitely have one problem, child. So here's all the glow plugs in order. Cylinder 1, 2, and so on. You can tell one is definitely shorter. This one's burnt or something problems. So let's see what we can do here. So I'm testing these glow plugs just with the electrically with resistance testing, ohm meter. And what I'm doing is I'm putting one of the leads on the ground, which would just be the hex head here, and then the other lead I'm putting on where the power terminal goes, and that is the circuit that goes through that heats this glow plug up. So that was 1.4 ohms. All of them tested about 1.4 ohms, all 4 except for the one that's burnt out. So this one here is bad cylinder. I kind of figured something was going on because it was definitely running on 4 cylinders, or less than 5 cylinders when it was starting lately. I didn't know what was going on, so I'm gonna try and clean these up with a Scotch-Brite pad and see if they still test out as far as ohms and put them back in there. And I don't have a replacement for this one, so I have to put this one back in. So I ended up scuffing these with a red Scotch-Brite, and that worked. I checked all the resistance of them all. They're all still good, except for this one, which wasn't good originally. I put a little dab of anti-seize on there, and I'm gonna reinstall them. Got the glow plugs reinstalled and wired up, so that's good. Didn't lose any of the washers or the nuts, so that's cool. And then we got new crush washers for the injectors, and you want to get new ones. They're made by L-Ring, so those go in there. So the crush washers go in there so that the dome side, the rounded side, goes down. So you want to see all these ridges in here when it's installed. So you just throw them in there and then use a pick and flip them the way you want them. And prior to me putting the crush washers in, I took a Q-tip, a bunch of Q-tips, and I cleaned the inside of the pre-chamber there, and cleaned the best I could so that there was less crap in there. And then I used carb cleaner and soaked the Q-tip and kind of cleaned it up. So it's ready for injectors. Let's put them in. Okay, this is a cold start with the injectors rebuilt, as you just saw in the last clip. I probably have about 1,000 miles on the injectors at this point after the rebuild. So let's do a cold start. It is about 40 degrees. Car sat overnight. So the car's obviously cold. I'll show you the injectors. So as you can see, all the injectors are dry. I did replace that glow plug with a new one. I got a Bosch glow plug, so I did replace that, so that helped. That's why it started so much nicer than what it had been starting before. So it's starting to rain. I'm gonna get this thing in the garage, but I just wanted to show, you know, when it warms up, it definitely is not the happiest car. But it's an old mechanical diesel, so I've been running it. So that's gonna do it for this video. That's probably the longest time elapsed video of injector rebuild ever. But it probably, you know, I started this back in like October or something like that, and it's now February, but that's okay. You guys got the long-term, you know, trial and errors. Saw some mistakes I made, saw some solutions. Stay tuned for the next video. I don't know if it's going to be a camping video. I don't know if it's going to be a Mercedes video. I don't know, it might be a cat video. What do you think, Tank? Is it going to be a cat video? Nope.